Perfect. And once we've got our products in the context, of course, let's worry about rendering them. So I'm going to navigate to the bigger screen and I'm going to start working on the feature product because I would want to do it in the following steps. First, I would want to work on featured products. Then we're going to work on a single product. So still have to set up one more fetch. So we have the single product page out of the way. And only then we'll worry about the products because as you can see, we have a bunch of moving pieces in here. First of all, there's going to be two ways how we can display them. Then there's going to be sorting and then filtering and all that. So I would want to do this all at once. That's why we'll take these steps. So we'll start with featured ones, like I said. Then we'll worry about the single product. And only then we'll dump all our products in the products page. And if you worry about the fact that I didn't show you what happens with error, don't worry. Once we start working on a featured, of course, there's going to be an if statement for the error. So it's going to be a little bit easier for me to showcase that what happens if we get the error. Because otherwise, yeah, I can show you in the components, but probably doesn't mean that much. So what I would want is to navigate to my filtered products because, or I'm sorry, I guess featured products. I keep saying filter, but it's actually featured products because I have array of 6 items, like so. And notice here how I'm importing use product context. So that is, of course, my hook. And what properties am I looking for? Well, I would want to check for loading since I would want to show the spinner. Then I also would want to showcase if there's some kind of error. And eventually, of course, I would want to showcase the featured product since we're just going to iterate over them and then display each item. So let's start with const. We know that we're pulling down the object and then from the object, I'm looking for products and then loading. But in order to make life a little bit easier, I'm just going to give it an alias of loading since it's going to be easier. So we're going to go with products and then also I would want to check error again, alias of error. And then eventually we'll look for featured and then underscore products. And that one will be equal to a featured like so. Now, once I've got all of this coming from use product context, then I would want to set up some if statements. So if I'm loading, then I would want to display my loading component. If there's an error, I would want to display the error component. And then eventually, if I've got my products, of course, I'll iterate over them. And then for every item, I'll return this product component. So let's start with if loading. And then for the time being, of course, there's not much in there, but we'll still go with return and then loading like so. So if we're loading, we should have quick loading one. And I think we would need to set it up first. So let's just go to a loading component. And as you can see for now, we just have the heading 4. Now there's not going to be much in there. We'll simply go with div and we'll add some global class names. So I'll say class name, section, and then section center. And then inside of this div, there's going to be another one with a class of loading. That's it. That's all we have to do. And once we have the loading in place, for a split second, of course, we can see that a little spinner in action. So that should do it for the loading. And I also would want to take care of the error. So before we maybe set up the error in a featured one, we might as well can just navigate there. Where is our error? Error, where you are. And it's right above. And as far as the error, same spiel, we'll go with div. And then a few class names here. There's going to be a section center, as well as the text center. So those are the 3 classes that I would want to add. And inside of this div, we'll simply go with heading 2. And there was an error. And then 3 dots. Let's save that. That should be displayed if we have the error. And in order to test out the error, well, first of all, I guess we would need to set up in a featured product, correct? So say if there is an error, if error, then I would want to return, of course, my error component. And now I would want to navigate back to the products context. And where I'm passing in the URL, I'm just going to add one more extra S. So I'll wrap my URL right now in the curly braces, and I'll just add S. So essentially, of course, there's going to be an error because there is no such an endpoint with that extra S. And that's why we can see nicely that there was a error. Beautiful. And now, of course, I'm going to go back to my proper URL since I would want to display my product. So now there's no error. There's no loading since we already have all the products. So now let's iterate over them. And for every product, we're going to return a product component. So I'll close the sidebar. And again, we have done this quite a few times. So we'll go with the wrapper, and inside of the wrapper, and by the way, let's add a global class name of section as well. Section class name. And then inside of this wrapper, I would want to first start with the title. That's one of the global classes. Then heading 2, and then featured products. And I'll also add this underline here. Underline. And then right after that, there's going to be the section with all my featured products. So right after the title div, we're going to go with section and then section center and featured classes like so. And then inside of this div, of course, I'm going to iterate over my featured array. Now it's up to you. You can render all of them, and I'm going to start that way. But eventually I would just want to display 2, or I'm sorry, 3. Again, that is just my preference if you take a look at the complete project, but you can render all 6 of them. So I purposely set up 6 featured products just in case you would want to render more. But in my case, I'm just going to go with 3. So we're going to iterate over. So we have featured. So, and then of course we're using the map for every product. We've got an object, and I'll name this object a product. And then as far as the return, we're just going to go with a product component. Then we need to pass in the key, and in the object, we have the ID property, and then we'll use the spread operator. So dot, 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 and we spread out the product. We save, and we should have product, 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 because that is the text that is inside the product component. And the last piece of the puzzle is navigating, of course, to the product component. So where it is, that's the sucker. And since I'm passing in all the properties, I just need to be specific which ones I'm looking for. So I would want to get the image, I would want to get the name, I would want to get the price, and I would want to get the ID. I'll save, I'll close the sidebar. And in here, let's say that we're going to return a wrapper. So all my styling here. And then inside of the wrapper, there's going to be a container. And then in the container, I would want to place the image and a link, because we need to understand that as I'm hovering over the image, notice this is the link, and this is going to navigate to that single product. So that's why if we take a look at the imports, of course, we have the style, and we also have format price, which at the moment we're not going to talk about. I'll cover that in the next video. And in here, I have FA search. So that's my icon. And then I also have the link. So I'll place the icon inside of the link, but link, of course, is going to use this ID to navigate to that specific product page. Now, of course, page is a placeholder. Remember that single product is a placeholder page where there's going to be a use effect, and we'll pass in that specific ID in the use effect. And then, of course, we'll fetch that single product. Hopefully that is clear, since, again, we have done that already before. So for the source, I'm just going to display the image. And as far as the alternative, I'll use my name in this case. So I'll say name. Then I would want to set up my link over here. And then this is going to navigate again dynamically to product and then ID. Why? Because if we go back to the app.js, what was the path for the single product? Well, in my case, it was /product and then / and then the ID. So my URL parameter. And since, of course, for every product that ID is going to be unique, in here, we'll set up the template literals, and we'll say /products and then / and now I would want to access the ID. Now I do want to add a little bit of styling here. So class name is going to be equal to link. And inside of this link, like I said, I would want to place my icon. So FA and then a search. So we can close it. We should have all of these images. And then notice as we're hovering, then of course we can see the link. Awesome. And then right outside of this div, I'm going to go with my footer, not font, sorry, footer here. And we're going to go with heading 5. And inside of it, we'll pass in the name. So I'd want to display the name as well as the price. Again, I'll talk about why we have price in cents and why we'd want to format it and all that info in the next video. For now, just bear with me. So we're going to go with paragraph, and then inside of this paragraph, we'll just pass in the price. Now, if you want, you can add the $sign, but you'll see that in the next video, I'll have to remove it anyway. So at the moment, of course, these prices look gigantic, but the good news is that we have the product. So let's navigate to the big screen. Notice if you want, you can display more products since there is a grid layout. So we have nice columns as well as the rows. But in my case, what I'm going to do is go back to the featured products. And then in JavaScript, we have the array method by the name of slice. So essentially, it gets items from the array and then creates a new one. So instead of iterating over the whole thing, I'm going to say feature dot and then slice, and then I'll pass in, well, how many items I would want, and then I'll change my map. And in my case, I'm going to go with 0 and then 3. So this is just going to grab items with indexes of 0, 1, and 2. So 3 is not included. So that's why in my case, I'm going to have a array, or I guess a list of 3 featured products. Beautiful. If we see our products displayed nicely on our screen, we're in good shape, and we can move on to the next step.